I am in Auckland, New Zealand, and it is Saturday morning for me. So I'm very excited to share some awesome stuff with you about endometriosis and how I've managed to manage it all by myself completely naturally without needing to go back for endless surgeries and painkillers and all that nasty stuff. So yeah, so let's see who's here. We have a couple of people here, which is nice. So say hello. I'd love to hear from you and where you are in the world, because it's so much nicer to talk to somebody if there's anybody there. I have purposely not gone and advertised this massively because I wanted to test out this new software, and also want to be able to have you feel like it's just you and me talking. So if you're on this with me and you feel like reaching out, then you can, and don't feel too embarrassed about asking any questions, because we've all been there on some level, and there's all different scenarios and things that we're going through. So hopefully I can help you move forward. Okay, so it is now 9:01. I'm very excited. We've got more people showing up now. So happy to have you here. My name is Melissa. I'm from Endo Empowered, and I'm in Auckland, New Zealand. It is Saturday morning for me. So hi, Louise from Ontario. How do you say it? Ontario. I'm not sure how you say it. I'd love to go to Canada. I haven't been to Canada, so I'd love to go to Canada. Then I might be able to pronounce where you're from, Louise. So thank you so much for joining me. So nice to have you here. If you feel like sharing how you found out about me or how long you've been following me, it just helps me get a picture of what sort of information I can relay to you about how to manage endometriosis, because sometimes, you know, I might be giving you too much information and it's like way over your head, or it might be too basic as well. So I'd love to, you know, hear about how long you've been following me, or you know, where you're at within your journey. So if you've just started out, or if you've been doing this whole natural thing for a while, that kind of stuff really helps me to guide you better and to allow me to present different information based on where you're at. I'd love to be able to meet everybody personally, but unfortunately I just can't do it anymore. I did this last year where I met every single person personally on Skype and guided them through and showed them about my program, and they could decide if it was right for them. But it was very time consuming, and unfortunately I'm, you know, in the midst of studying and have also got another business with my husband. So it's just a bit challenging time-wise. So I hope we're all okay with this new form of communication. I myself am still getting used to it because I like to be able to see you, and I can't see you. So if you're out there and you want to reach out, please let me know where you are. If there's any information about your journey so far, any insights that you can give me, it'll really help me to tailor this for you specifically. I actually had a whole presentation set up, which I ran through yesterday, because yesterday was our very first webinar, and I didn't like it. It felt a little bit cold, and I didn't really feel like I was providing enough value. So what I've done today is I've actually got my little whiteboard out as a tester. I hope that you guys can see it clearly, like you can see the writing. So if you can't see the writing, let me know now, because I'll need to adjust. Yay, Rebecca, someone else. So hi, Rebecca. So you're from the WA state in the US. So awesome. So we're having lots of people from the US. So I guess it must be evening for you guys over there. Like for me, it's 9 a.m. now. It's almost 9:05 on a Saturday morning in Auckland, New Zealand. We're actually having a really rainy, overcasty day today, so I've had to put lots of lights on to make sure you can all see me. And another person from the WA. So Cheryl's also here from WA. Fantastic. Oh, it's 2 p.m. Oh, that's a nice time on a Friday. So I guess you guys aren't at work. Well, unless you've got really nice bosses who let you do this kind of thing. So yeah, and there is also an option if you feel like it, you can stick your hand up and you can be invited into this session with me. I believe that you can just not show your face, so you can just turn the camera off if you don't want to be seen. But it just helps me a lot to connect with you. So, then you can speak and I can hear your voice, which is really helpful. It is going to be a very small group with us today. So there's only 9 people who've registered for this webinar, and this is on purpose. I didn't want to go out and do a massive big advertising for this, because I really wanted to keep this intimate and just us, and then we can, also figure out some of the tech stuff if need be, and you can feel more comfortable to share any questions or any thoughts, or, if something doesn't make sense, I've also got more time to answer those questions for you. So I've really done this on purpose, and so that I can help you and guide you better. So do make a point of reaching out to me and using that chat box or sticking your hand up if you have a question. It's there for a reason, and I'd love to communicate with you, because I find this whole internet thing sometimes a bit challenging, where I don't really know what it is you need from me, and I really want to be of service and help you, because that's what I'm all about. So yeah, so awesome. Well, it looks like we have got 4 people today, which is so exciting. Thank you so much for being here with me and for spending this time with me. So it's now 6 minutes past 9, so I might just get started and go through some ideas around endometriosis and how we go about managing endometriosis completely naturally. No surgery, no painkillers, and no hormone treatments. That's the goal. I personally found this to be quite a daunting experience. I went through quite a journey with my endometriosis, and I guess that's kind of the motivator, was to find resolve for myself. That's what began this whole journey. I really couldn't deal with any more of the struggles in having endometriosis, and that's what led me to do this work, because ultimately I found resolve. I don't experience pain or symptoms from endo, and that's what I really, really want for more women out there. And I know that I made a lot of mistakes along my journey in using both the conventional approaches and the more natural approaches. So I want to share that stuff with you. I want to share some insights with you on the things that I did wrong, and ultimately the solutions that I found. So I'm going to switch over to my presentation now. So let me know if everything's set up correctly. Let me know if everything's working, because obviously that will make life a lot easier. So we're just going to switch over. So this is my mission. I want to empower women to allow them to manage endometriosis on their own by listening to their bodies, understanding endometriosis, and then truly providing their bodies with what they need. My mission is to empower and equip 1 million women to create their own life of endo freedom. So big goal, but I know how much it can shift your reality, and I know how much it's changed my life. And that's ultimately what I'd love for you to experience, is to no longer be restricted by endo. So I have a question for you. Would you like to be one of those 1 million women? I'd love you to be. I'd really love you to feel those changes and to experience those changes with me. So I have a bold promise for you today, and this is what we're going to look at today. Firstly, I'm going to show you how managing endometriosis naturally is really the best way to go. This is your ultimate way to really reduce pain and symptoms and get to the root triggers of endometriosis. So we're not just looking at symptom relief, we're actually going to dive right in and target the specific elements of endometriosis. And you're also going to discover the exact steps you need to manage endometriosis naturally. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. So before we get started, I do want to request a few things. Firstly, please don't multitask. So if you've got other stuff open, like Facebook, or your phone's next to you, or if the TV's on, or if there's anything else going on around you, make yourself a nice, beautiful space and close the door, create a quiet space for yourself, put on a candle, maybe get yourself a glass of water. Really get ready to spend this time with me, because this is precious time for both of us, and I want to make the most of it. I want you to be here with me so I can guide and support you better. Grab a pen and paper if you need to. You will get a copy of this as well. Also, just to note that I'm a South African and I've lived in various countries around the world. So I have a funny accent. Certain words I say you'll recognize as South African in me, but then other words you'll hear my German because I speak German, or you'll hear that I'm currently living in New Zealand, or even my Australian accent might come out because I lived there for quite a few years as well. So sorry about that if that's, thrown anyone as to where I'm from. I'm originally born in South Africa and I've lived in a lot of countries around the world, so hence the funny accents. I also want to reward you. So if you stay with me all the way till the end, and hopefully we don't have any issues, because yesterday we had some tech issues, so hopefully all goes well today, I'm going to give you a special little gift. These are from within my Endo Wellness Technique program. They are wellness plans designed specifically depending on what it is that you're seeking to achieve. So if you're wanting to get pregnant, there's a fertility wellness plan. There's the endometriosis wellness plan, which is focused on just reducing pain and symptoms. If you've just come out of surgery, there's a surgery recovery plan. And there's also one for coming off hormone treatments. So these are specifically focused on nutritional and supplement advice. And you get that completely free as long as you stay with me till the end, and I'll be sending that out to you. Okay, so are you with me? Awesome, fabulous, cool. Okay. So, how's everyone doing? Thanks for sharing that, Beck. So nice to have you here, Beck, and we will be looking at those options for sure for you today. Excellent. So glad you guys are here. I'm so excited. It's so much fun doing this. And it's so much more fun for me if you do share, because otherwise I feel like I'm just talking to myself, which, it's not as much fun. Okay, so I'm actually going to leave this open as it is, because it just allows me to see you guys at the same time. Oops, no, it doesn't let me do that. Okay. Right. Moving back onto the slides. So this is me, Melissa Turner. I began my journey 7 years ago in learning how to manage endometriosis naturally. I have studied every book, research paper, and idea on how you can do this with managing endo naturally. And I even went back to study. So I'm actually in my 4th year of a 5-year degree in naturopathy, which is very exciting, and I've learned a heap from that. I've also been hosted on the Blog Talk radio show, the Hormone Summit, Mind, Body, Green, and all over the place online. My mission, of course, needs me to get out there and put my message out there. But the key thing that I want to tell you is that I don't experience pain or symptoms with endo anymore. And that's really the key thing that I have to share with you, because that's ultimately the learnings that I have that I can guide you on. Now, I must tell you that I did a lot of things right to obviously get to this place and to be able to live like this every day. But I've also done a lot of things wrong. Um, so as Beck has mentioned, there's not that many options when you consider, conventional approaches. So these are some of the things that I did. I went to see the top specialists on endometriosis and often spent money out of pocket because of that. They weren't necessarily covered by my insurance, and so I would have to fork out the money. I did a variety of synthetic hormones. So I did Synarol, which is a brand name, so you might not recognize that one, but that's the one you shoot up your nose. I really like that one, actually, because it completely dulled out my symptoms for a whole 6 months. And when I went back to my gynecologist and said, hey, can I have some more of that? He said, unfortunately, I can't prescribe you any more of that because if you take it long term, you may develop bone health issues. Now, I had no idea about this before and was really quite frightened at the age of 20 to hear that, this could be affecting my bone health. So quite scary. Often we're unaware of some of the side effects and long-term consequences of taking these. I also took Implanon, which is the one you shoot in your arm. They put in your arm, very similar to Mirena, so same kind of idea there. And the contraceptive pill, I did do that one for quite a while. That was my ultimate go-to, and possibly a lot of you are also on that one, or you've had that one as a form of, you can't see me, but you can imagine I'm doing little inverted commas treatment. And of course, danazol I had as well. I did 7 surgeries, and I did one every year and a half throughout my 20s. That was supposed to be a clean out, as the words were used, to try and clean out the endo. But of course, it came back every single time. I took lots of painkillers and drugs to either counter the pain or to deal with the hormone treatments themselves. They would often cause me nausea. I got, then the painkillers caused, constipation. So it was this constant sort of circle of taking one thing to counteract something else. So anyone feel like sharing their experience in what they've done? So Beck, your doctor's given you the 2 options, pill or Mirena. And yes, those are typically the most common options that a lot of gynaes do recommend for endo because, and I will talk about this a little bit later, but ultimately they're focusing on hormone balance rather than the root cause of endometriosis. So does anyone else feel like sharing what they're currently doing or where they're at? Beck, I'm not sure if you sort of tried those or if they just gave you those options and you decided, no, I don't want to do that. Would love to hear any thoughts on where you guys are at in terms of that. So, if you have had these treatments or if you're considering them, or if you tried them and, just felt crappy on them because obviously there's a reason you're here. So I'm assuming you're either don't want to do them or you have tried them and they weren't so flash. So I would love to hear some thoughts from you guys on that. Thank you for sharing, Beck. Yeah, I had a lap 2 weeks ago. Oh, I hope you're okay, sweetie. I know those are really quite rough. Yeah, you've been taking painkillers. Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to hear that you refuse to pump any more chemicals. I love the wording of that. Fantastic. So good to be here with you. Rebecca, 2 surgeries, stopped birth control a while ago since it wasn't working. Currently struggling because I've been bleeding 6 weeks now. Wow. With wooziness and nausea. Rebecca, I'll actually send you some direct info on the bleeding side of things, just some herbs that can remedy that. I have got a blog post on it if you feel like searching for it before I get to you, but there are some herbs that can really stop that bleeding. So yeah, so naturopath, the only way to get rid of, yeah, that's not true. Yeah, having lots of children doesn't get rid of endometriosis. Or when you're pregnant, what happens is it stops the hormone production and it's different. And that can then basically alleviate the endometriosis for obviously while you're pregnant and then generally for most women while they're breastfeeding. So that can last up to 2 years. So if you keep having kids, I guess you're in a permanent stage of that. So you're going from being pregnant to breastfeeding, and then you may not have, the endometriosis may not flare up again. But it's not a solution. We'll get to actually resolving it properly today. So we'll cover that. Cool, Louise. I was offered Lupron, painkillers, and waiting for menopause. I'm 49. Tried Mirena, didn't work. Uterus ablation a year ago, and now trying the natural way. Cool. Yeah. It sounds like you've had quite a lot of experience, Louise, and so glad you didn't take the Lupron, because that stuff is nasty, really, really bad. There's actually a court case against Lupron, the company that developed it, so don't recommend that one at all. Yeah, Mirena is very similar to Implanon, I believe, in the way that it works, and I couldn't do that one either. It didn't work for me. I literally had spotting for 6 months while I was on that as well, so it didn't work for me either. Uterus ablation a year ago. Cool. Yeah, Louise, you're in a good place. I think that we can certainly, work together in getting you right. I don't think you need to just wait for menopause. That could be a while away, and I don't think that's a positive way of looking at things, is just, let's just hope that, because that doesn't necessarily resolve things either, unfortunately. I did meet a lady who was 73 and she still had pain. So, there's some other things we can do. Cool. Thank you so much for sharing, ladies. That is so lovely. And it really helps me so much to understand what it is that, you need from me today. So thank you so much. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, and then, whoops, it's gone back to the old slide. I'll just go back over those. Okay, and then I tried natural approaches as well. So I tried a whole bunch of herbal supplements that didn't work. I actually have a cupboard full of natural herbal supplements, and I've actually got to check the use-by date on some of those because they're probably expired by now. A lot of them didn't work, and just, ineffective, or in some cases made things worse. So some of them actually made the endo flare up or get worse because I had no idea what I was doing. I tried a whole bunch of different diets, because somebody would recommend something to me. Somebody would say, try fruitarians, try paleo, try raw food. So I tried all these different diets in the hope that something would work. I stuck things up my butt, up my vagina, up my nose, all in the hope of finding some relief. I really wanted to find relief and did all sorts of things. I did liver flushes, bowel cleansers, colonics, fasting, crystal healing even, which is quite woo-woo, but I was willing to try anything because I just wanted to find resolve. And then I tried acupuncture, massage, chakra healing, energy healing, breathing exercises, Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine. And sure, they all had some benefit, and some elements of those things that I tried did help, but ultimately it didn't necessarily give me resolve. I did spend a lot of money as well, blood test scans, ultrasounds, went to sorts of naturopath specialists, Chinese doctors, homeopaths, massage therapists, online courses, read heaps of books, fancy supplements, you name it. I just was trying everything. And what I found was I just wasn't getting the real answers I needed. I wasn't understanding what I was actually doing. I knew my body had the ability to heal, but I wasn't understanding endometriosis properly. And what I wanted was to empower myself with the knowledge and strategy to actually manage endometriosis. I needed a plan. And this is the thing I didn't have. I was literally throwing things into my body in the hope that something would work. I would read something on the internet, or somebody would suggest something, and I would try it. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a strategy. I had no idea what I was actually doing. And that's when I discovered there was a truth behind the naturopathic approach. And this possibly aligned with going back to study and learning about, basic concepts of cells and organs and homeostatic balance and all these kinds of things kind of brought on a light bulb moment for me. There's a few things I realized. The first thing is it wasn't just about diet and supplements. So I know when we think natural, we think diet and supplements is the answer. What I really needed to do was look at everything within my life and address the root triggers of endometriosis. Everything. But I'll be honest with you, I was actually a little nervous. It was a bit daunting because I had stage 4 endometriosis. And here I was trying to manage it completely naturally without any medical intervention. And I was scared. I was scared that it was going to spread, it was going to come back. But here's the truth. I felt like it was my last resort. See, nothing else had worked. I tried everything else. And what did I have to lose? Maybe another surgery? That was kind of my last resort. So I dived in and I applied my studies and my research. And that's when I discovered, well, what I guess a lot of us realize is I was approaching things the wrong way. The truth was I had no idea what I was actually doing. I was simply following what other people had suggested. And this is what typically happens. So I call it the natural approach treadmill. You get on a diet that someone has suggested and you follow it super strictly. For a lot of us, that might be the Endo diet. Maybe you've read something about paleo or vegan and you decide, okay, I'm going to get on this diet and I'm going to be super strict and then I'll get results. Yeah? Or you take a variety of supplements and you throw them all in there just hoping that something will work. And you figure that's okay. There's probably no harm in that, right? Well, actually, natural medicine is quite powerful and there can be conflicts between different supplements. Or you can hope that something works and just keep trying things. Just keep throwing things at your body, like, hoping something will stick. And this is typically what I see most people do. Most women within our support group, most women who approach endometriosis naturally, this is what they do. And they may even get somewhere with this. Some women actually get some relief from this. They try it for 6 months and some of them just give up after that. They go, yes, I've had some relief. But to be honest, sticking to a really strict diet and taking a bunch of supplements that are quite expensive is not necessarily the life that I want to live. Okay, so, whoops, lights in the way. Okay, so Replenish is all about providing a nutrient-dense diet. And what this means is making sure that you provide your body with what your body needs. Okay, so if your body does well on paleo, awesome, do paleo. If your body does well on a vegan diet, then do vegan. My recommendation, however, is to actually look at your food sources and what the body particularly needs. So there are minerals and vitamins that you guys know your body needs, right? But there's so many more. So there are phytonutrients, there are enzymes, there are bioflavonoids, and these typically you will only find in food. You can take these minerals and vitamins, but they're generally going to be synthetic, which means that your body might struggle to absorb them and process them. The other thing to consider is with your nutrient-dense diet is based on your body and what works for you is what you're going to absorb. So it needs to be a diet that provides for your body, okay? And it needs to be a diet that replenishes all the things that you need. And I describe these things as tools. The reason for that is that they act and do things in the body. So if you think about a mechanic who's trying to fix a car, he needs certain tools to do the job. So, I don't know what they use, but like a screwdriver or a torch or whatever. Now, the same thing applies to your body. And for most of us, we're actually deficient in a lot of these things. In the Western world, like it's surprising, but a lot of us are deficient. And that's because of where we get our food from and what we eat and what's happened to that food. If it's been cooked to buggery, if it's, grown in poor soil, there's going to be nutrients and minerals and things that you're not getting. Now, when this happens, you're not going to have the tools to provide for your body. So your body's not going to be able to do the things that it needs to do. And one of the key tools that it needs, like all of these tools that it needs, are the tools that it needs to support you in managing endometriosis. Okay, so there are some key ones that I'm going to write up for you that your body needs to manage endometriosis. And there's actually quite a lot of them. But the main one that I made a connection with is selenium. It's one of the key ones. A lot of women with endo are deficient in selenium and zinc. A lot of the fat-soluble vitamins. And these are your A, D, E, and K vitamins. Now, there's actually a logical reason for this. Firstly, it's obviously our choice of food and not getting the right nutrients from our diet, but also it's the inability to process these things or other things going on. So what actually happens is your body becomes depleted in these. So if it's using them up too quickly and you're not replenishing them fast enough, because it's needing them for other things that I'll share with you within the REACH technique. So it's using them to do other functions that is in hyperdrive when you have endometriosis. Things like poor digestion, things like inflammation, things like pain, things like stress, they deplete nutrients from the body. And so even if you eat a reasonably healthy diet, unless you're eating a super healthy diet, you're not going to be able to replenish those. So within the Endo Wellness Technique program, we cover replenish on a massive scale. It's 15 weeks worth of content, so you know exactly what foods to avoid that inhibit mineral and vitamin absorption. So there's certain foods in our typical Western diet that actually inhibit the ability to absorb certain foods. And then I also show you what foods to eat that provide for the body. These are foods that are highly, highly nutritious foods. They provide high levels of those tools that your body needs. And so we replenish the body. So if you guys have been following a reasonably healthy diet, you're probably already aware of how diet can impact how you feel, because it does make a difference. It's ultimately the fuel that you're giving your body. So it's something you do, 3-4 times a day, and it's the fuel you give your body. Now you can choose good fuel or you can choose not so good fuel. And depending on what fuel type you choose is how you might feel. I know for myself, if I've had, a particularly unplanned week, I might not have such good fuel, in which case my body will reflect that and I might not have the same level of energy, or I might have digestive issues or whatever. Okay, so our bodies do speak to us. They tell us what it needs. So replenish is the very first step. And that is one that often, a lot of women that I've worked with, they've often addressed that reasonably well. Okay. We then move on to exercise. Now, hang on. Before I move on to exercise, I actually want to show you something else. Okay. So thanks for Rebecca. Thanks for sharing. So you been recommended the paleo diet by a nutritionist, but feel as though I'm still missing many things. So that feeling connect to this idea? Yes, definitely. So it may be other things. So we'll look at the other stuff in the picture because, like I say, diet is just one component. But it might still be that you're not providing the nutrients or the tools, as I describe them, that your body particularly needs. So paleo, depending on how you're doing paleo, and this is why I don't like labels of different diet types, is because some people will say paleo and they eat a heap of meat all day, and some people say paleo and they eat very little meat. So depending on how you're doing paleo is, how well it might work for you. I'm not a proponent of no meat. I just want to clarify that. A lot of people assume that I'm like recommending vegan or vegetarian or something. you do need meat in the diet. If you are vegan or vegetarian, then we can address that, but you do ideally need meat in the diet. There are tools or vitamins and minerals and things that your body needs that you can only get from meat. And really hard to find replacements for those. So I do recommend meat. I myself don't like a lot of meat. I don't cope well on a lot of meat. So I do have it, but I have it in small portions, or I have certain types of meat, which is more nutrient dense, and so I can have less of it. I'm just going to grab a pillow because my knees are. So what I'm going to do now is actually show you how to address endometriosis specifically. And this is really, really cool stuff. So I'd love your involvement, everybody, because this is what's really fun about using a natural approach. Okay. So when you think of endometriosis, I want you guys to share what are some of the key symptoms that you experience. So, you know, what do you currently experience with your endometriosis? Obviously, you're going to say pain. Now, you know, all of us pretty much experience some level of pain, but I'd like you to go beyond that. So if there's other symptoms that you experience, so if you have, I don't know, digestive issues, or if you have skin irritation, or like anything that you've got going on within your body, if you could share, that would really help, because I want to show you how we ultimately look at the body holistically, and also then look at how we manage endometriosis specifically. So I'd love for you guys to share. I'm just going to have some water. Anybody? Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Beck. Cool. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, Beck. I'm going to take your answers. So we've got cramps, bloating. What else we got? Tender and sore breasts. Okay. I'm just going to put breast pain because it's a little bit easier. Rebecca, pain that feels like pinching, pulling down on the outside vaginally and rectally, digestion for sure. Lower left side stabbing pain, bloating. Okay. Rebecca, just on what you've mentioned there, that definitely sounds like adhesion pain to me. So I'll be happy to send out some more information on that for you as well. And if anyone else would like that, just let me know. Okay, so digestive issues. So I'm just going to pop that here. And what else we got? Slow left stabbing pain, bloating. Okay. Anyone else feel like sharing? Cheryl, do you feel like sharing? Louise, are you still with us? If you feel like sharing, you don't have to. That's okay if you don't want to. Okay, so what we do is we can actually take all our symptoms, and there's a lot more than this. So I'm just going to put some more down. So PMS, hormone fluctuations. So you might have moodiness. You might have your digestive system changes just before your period. So you might get diarrhea, or I can never spell diarrhea, constipation before your period, bloating, cramps, pain. You know, we know it as the endo belly. I'm just going to have to move this a little bit over. That light's really quite annoying. And then, and then also, skin allergies or sensitivities. Allergies is something that a lot of women have. So I don't know if anyone else can share that. If you have had allergies like hay fever or skin sensitivities, food sensitivity, like being aware that you're sensitive to, say, dairy or gluten, for instance. Lower back pain down the legs. Yeah, that's quite common as well. So low energy, great one. Okay, so we're going to pop that one here. Thanks for sharing, Louise. Lower back down legs. Yeah, so we're just going to leave that with the pain. Low energy, bloating, cramps, and eczema. Yes, eczema. Perfect. Cool. Okay, so for myself, I had most of these. I recognized quite early on that I had a dairy sensitivity when I was living in the rainforest. It was not fun. Skin allergies. I had sensitivities all the time. I had hay fever. I had low energy a lot myself. I didn't have eczema, but, skin sensitivities for sure. I generally got rashes. If I got bitten by a mosquito even, I would swell up like massively. Like I remember in Italy, when I was in Italy, I had this like huge swelling from being bitten by a mosquito, it's ridiculous. I had a lot of these, obviously too much estrogen in the body. So I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with terms like estrogen dominance, but essentially having too much estrogen, not enough progesterone will give you estrogen dominance. So that's pretty much what was going on for me. Too much estrogen, not enough progesterone. So this is where all of these symptoms come from. So if you have got these symptoms, oh my God, Rebecca, that's so weird. Yeah, the mosquito thing's nasty. So yeah, if you have got these symptoms, then estrogen dominance is pretty much the term they use. And it basically means there is an imbalance. So you have too much estrogen, not enough progesterone. So those guys need to kind of sit on par. And if they're not, then you'll typically have these kind of symptoms. Okay, and then obviously your cramps, your bloating, your endo pain, your flare-ups, your swelling, all of that kind of inflammatory response. So I'm giving it away already. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to show you how this all groups together. So, right. Oh, I might have to stand up for this. Okay, so we've got inflammation, which is all of these. Then we've got hormone imbalance, which is all of these. And then we've actually got something called an autoimmune response. Okay, so all of these. Now, endometriosis has been recognized as an autoimmune condition. This has been by the American Endometriosis Association has recognized it, and it makes perfect sense to me that it would be. Essentially what's happening is you are getting an overreaction occurring in the body. So the best way to explain what an autoimmune condition is I'll take allergies, because most of us understand allergies. So you get exposed to some pollen, and that pollen gets up your nose, and instead of you just sneezing it out and it's all fine, no problem, your body actually overreacts. So it thinks it's under attack. And so it sends out massive amounts of mucus. It makes your eyes run. You get, you might get your throat might even swell up. It's like your body feels like it's under attack. And essentially, it's an overreaction, and that is what an autoimmune response is. It's an overreaction to something. Now, I'm under the belief that there are many women who develop these endometriosis cells, or let's rephrase that, rogue cells, which are from the endometrium in the wrong place, essentially in the abdominal cavity, but their body is able to just clean it up. So it just goes, oh, yep, those cells are in the wrong place. Let's just clean it up and get rid of it. No problem. But in our bodies, what happens is the body goes, oh, there's cells in the wrong place. There's a huge panic. And so it sends out forces, just like with hay fever, on a massive scale. And it just creates this inflammatory response. And so you have this response combined with the inflammatory response. And that's where you get prostaglandins releasing more pain signals, more inflammation, and hence where the endobelly, the bloating, and all of these wonderful symptoms come from. Okay. Digestion actually has a lot of overlap, so we'll cover that as well. So you can see how if we group these together, we understand endometriosis better, because now instead of looking at all these things going on, like this huge big mess, and just focusing on hormone imbalance, which is typically what most naturopaths and doctors will do, which is why they will recommend the contraceptive pill or Lupron, because they are trying to stop just this. What happens is when there's too much estrogen, this stimulates more growths. So the idea with taking those synthetic hormones is to stop that growth. And by stopping the growth, the hope is that you stop the endometriosis. But of course, they're not getting to why there is a hormone imbalance to begin with. They're not addressing why is that imbalance there? Why is there too much estrogen and not enough progesterone in the body? What is going on? And that's ultimately what we need to look at. So these are the 3 key symptoms of endometriosis that I like to look at. And so this is what I'm going to show you what we actually do. So we take those 3 areas. So we've got inflammation, hormone imbalance, and the autoimmune response as the 3 key symptoms that we want to focus on with endo. Yeah? Everyone with me? Just let me know if this all makes sense. Like you guys are all understanding everything I'm saying and it's all making sense, because I want to make sure that I've covered this. Okay. So what we do now is we take back our reach technique. So we've got our replenish. We've got exercise. We've got affirm. We've got cleanse. And we've got help. Yeah? Cool. Thanks, guys. Okay, so replenish, we look at obviously replenishing what may be missing. So looking at what nutrients your body might be missing, making sure that you're not blocking any absorption with foods that could be interfering. But then we take it that next step and we actually address these key things with food. So what we're essentially doing is using food as our medicine. Okay, so how can we use food to reduce inflammation, balance hormones, and deal with that autoimmune response? And you can do this. You can actually use food as a tool, as a medicine. And if you're following like, paleo, for instance, an anti-inflammatory paleo, you'll certainly be addressing the inflammatory response, because it's addressing that. So this is what we do. And then we take the next step. Now, we can apply different modalities and different, what I call ideas or rules around using these key aspects. And the reach technique is our environment. So as I spoke in the beginning of this presentation, it's about an environment for healing. These elements within our diet and our, exercise and our thinking and our cleansing, all of these things are the environment that we provide the body, and then it does the healing. But we focus specifically on these 3 symptoms with having endo. So does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? Okay, so now I'm going to show you how we do the same thing with exercise. So we take exercise and we look at, okay, what forms of exercise can I do that reduces inflammation, supports hormone balance, and supports that autoimmune response, well, doesn't support it, but reduces that hyperimmune response within the body. Okay. So with exercise specifically, you want to make sure that the forms of exercise you do releases adhesions. When you've had surgery, you will have adhesions. It's inevitable. If you've had any kind of massive fall when you were a kid, or you did gymnastics, or you did ballet and you did the splits, or anything like that where you've pulled or you've fallen on your coccyx or anything like that, it is very likely that you've got adhesions. And adhesions is one other aspect of having endometriosis that causes a lot of pain for women. And, you know, anything like Rebecca mentioned with tearing feelings or pinching feelings, that indicates adhesions to me. Okay. Now, you can do certain forms of exercise that actually loosens those adhesions, that tightness. So what happens with adhesions is you've got an organ and another organ. So let's say your bowel and say your ovary. And over time, those can start to stick together because of those adhesions. Adhesions are designed by the body as a repair mechanism. And so if you've fallen, your body will try and protect those organs. And to do that, it sends out these adhesions. So they're like, you know, like Spider-Man strings to try and hold them in place. But over time, those adhesions get stronger and stronger and stronger. And so then when you try and move those organs or those movements, they're doing something that's going to cause you pain. So what we want to do is loosen those adhesions very, very slowly so it's not painful. And then over time, it becomes easier and less painful. And you can use exercise to do that. So just a hint, I do not recommend running for women with endo unless you've been a runner for years and your body's gotten used to that and those adhesions have kind of loosened a little bit. But I generally don't recommend anything very, very high strenuous or high impact because, as you can imagine, you're going to force those adhesions to bounce every single time, which is going to cause a lot of pain. The other thing that you want to make sure of when you look at your exercise is ensuring that it actually provides blood flow to the abdominal area. So when you think of your abdominal area and your ovaries and your uterus, you want to make sure that they are getting lots and lots of oxygen and lots of those tools. So all that good stuff you're feeding yourself is getting to those ovaries and the uterus and getting those nutrients in there. And the way to make sure is to make sure you're getting blood flow to that lower abdominal area. Once again, you can use exercise to do that. You also want to make sure that you are getting rid of waste in the area. So as an example, a cyst is a little pocket sitting on the ovary that is generally filled with waste. It's things that the ovary doesn't want. So it pops it in this little cyst. It's like a little rubbish bag. But of course, it can't get rid of it. So what you want to do is make sure that you're getting lots and lots of good blood coming out and blood flow to the area. One of the simplest ways you can do that is doing massages, but obviously certain types of exercise can support that as well. Oh, Cheryl, I didn't see that. No, excellent. I'm glad you're watching for your daughter, Rebecca. That's really nice. I love it when mums reach out to me. I've got so many mums now that reach out to me. It's so nice. Cool. Okay, so that's the basics. I mean, these two things you guys are probably doing. Yes, so massages to the abdominal area will definitely help. There is a video on my website called the Mayan massage. So Google it or use the search box on the blog page. You can do the whole body if you want to, but really the key focus would be that abdominal area. Do not apply heat, ladies, ever. Please do not apply heat. I have done a blog post on this as well. Really important not to apply heat to the abdominal area. But massages are really, really cool. And then obviously certain forms of exercise that encourage circulation to that area. Now we look at a firm. And a firm essentially has got to do with your emotional well-being. So, you know, how you feel emotionally strong, Yeah, I know, Beck. A lot of women use hot water packs. I was quite horrified when I discovered this too. But having worked with someone for the last 4 months on adhesion pain, that was his biggest thing. His biggest takeaway is not to do, because it just solidifies those adhesions. So check out I did do a video on that as well with him, and a blog post on that. So check it out, because there's a cool download with that as well. Anyway, okay, so let's get back to this. So affirm is got to do with your emotions. If you've had trauma in the past, any kind of experiences that were really hard on you as a child or even as a teenager that really affected you in a big way. These can be, traumas that are, in some cases, a lot of women with endo seem to have nasty histories of like sexual abuse and things like that. So there is a connection there. But looking at that stuff and actually releasing that stuff. So this is interesting stuff, because a lot of people don't realize the connection. So this is mind-body connection, and really recognizing that this stuff affects your whole body and creates an environment of non-healing. I've had women who have done this perfectly, but they've done it so perfectly that they're stressed out about it. So in actual fact, they're not getting the benefits. Ultimately, what happens is when you have a lot of stress or emotional pain or trauma sitting in the body, it creates stress triggers. So the way I like to describe this is, I'll give you an example of myself. So I was working in advertising, and I had quite a stressful job as it was. Advertising's quite time pressured, and I always felt under the pump. What I found was that I was massively over-pleasing my boss. I was really concerned about doing a good job. I wanted to make sure he was happy. So I would work extra hours. I would do more. I just put in extra all the time. And that was causing a lot of my stress. So what I realized was I needed to address this. And what I found was there was an inherent driver underneath all of that. And that driver was a feeling of not being good enough. And so wanting to overprove myself. And when I did work on this, it came back to something that happened to me when I was 6. I had a little brother who died when I was 6. I vaguely remembered it. But what happened is my mum had asked me to pray for him. And I spent 3 days praying for him to, because he wasn't well, he was really sick. And I went away and I prayed for him for 3 days, hoping that he would get better. And then he died. And I had blamed myself for that. As a 6-year-old, I didn't understand things, and I didn't realize that, praying was something you do as a help. And I didn't realize that it, wasn't sort of you do and then it definitely provides results kind of thing. And so I blamed myself. And after that, I always felt like I couldn't ever repay that debt of basically having not prayed enough, not doing enough to try and save our brother. So, and this only came out because I did work on this. So in the Endo Wellness Technique program, we actually give you specific tools on how to do this, and they are not confrontational tools. This is not about going to see a psychologist and talking about your issues, because that doesn't actually resolve your issues, in my opinion. It does for some people, but in my opinion, all it does is rehash the same thing over and over again, and all you're doing is talking about it and bringing all of that emotional stress up to the surface, but you're not actually getting rid of it. What we want to do is actually free the emotional stress from the body. So we actually want to release that emotional pain. We don't forget about what happened to us, because we can't forget what happened to us, but we can release the emotional burden of it, because when we do that, we no longer have this body in a hyper-stressed state. So here's the key reason that's important. When you have stress in the body, it affects everything else. Stress triggers inflammation, hormone imbalance, and that autoimmune response. And A lot of women with endo have got a lot of stress. I've noticed this as a trend, and it may be that feeling that we're not good enough. I know that when I bring this up, a lot of women feel they feel the same way. It may be that many women feel this and just don't say it. But stress also causes digestive issues, which a lot of women with endo have. And the way that it does it is when you're stressed out, your body uses a lot more cortisol. So that's where that hormone imbalance comes from. And when you're stressed out, you're using up a lot of these tools, which then go into managing this and supporting your body during what it feels is a time of stress. So stress is kind of like, you know, the sympathetic nervous system in hyperdrive. So it's basically if you were running from a tiger, and what your body does is it goes, digestion is not important right now. I'm not going to worry about that. Healing is not important right now. All I'm going to worry about is providing enough blood flow, getting lots and lots of nutrients that I need to make sure I can run away from the tiger. But if you do this over long periods of time, inevitably, you're going to deplete all your tools and you're going to cause all of these reactions. So with the stress triggers, the key thing is to release the emotional burden or pain from that. And like I say, in the program, we actually show you how to do this. I've invited experts to come and share their knowledge on how to do this very safely and non-confrontationally. Okay, so we now move on to cleanse. And cleanse is massive. It is a huge, huge aspect of managing endometriosis. When you think about endometriosis, there is a few things that really I want you to take away from this today. The first thing is they did an experiment where they took some monkeys and they gave these monkeys dioxin. Dioxin is found in Roundup, which is a common pesticide and fungicide used on crops. And they gave these monkeys dioxin, and these monkeys developed endometriosis. So they didn't have endometriosis, and then they got it. So this was a key piece of my research because it shows quite clearly that our toxin levels have a direct impact on how we develop endometriosis. So by not looking at cleansing the body effectively, by not looking at how your body actually detoxifies, what organs does it use, how do you get rid of toxins in the body, how effectively are you providing for that aspect of the body, you are doing yourself a disservice in trying to manage endometriosis. So when there is an imbalance, you have too many toxins and not enough nutrients, you're going to have an imbalance and your body is going to be burdened. It's going to struggle. And that struggle is ultimately what I believe contributes to all of this, because your liver is not able to flush out excess hormones. The autoimmune response can quite likely be connected to those toxins in the body, which inevitably leads to that inflammatory response. So cleansing, getting rid of toxins in the body is a key component to managing endometriosis. And I'm not going to tell you to do a liver flush. I'm not going to tell you to do bowel cleansers, because that is ultimately not getting to working out how the body naturally detoxifies. In the program, we cover this extensively. There's 18 lessons on how to detoxify, and I share my protocol with you. What you want to do is actually look at every single organ that does any kind of detoxing and support that organ. So the key one is your liver and making sure your liver is functioning and supported. And that comes back to your nutrients. So making sure your tools can provide for the liver. Now, here's the catch. If your digestive system is not functioning, you're going to struggle to take in those nutrients, so those tools, which means you're going to struggle to detoxify. So we inevitably need to heal the gut at some point, and that is also covered in the cleanse module. Okay, and then of course, certainly last but not least, is help and support. So by reaching out to me today, you obviously get the importance of getting help and support around managing endometriosis, and particularly if you want to do this naturally, because there's not a lot of women who want to do this naturally. It is a different approach. It's not recommended by conventional medicine. So you need to be surrounded by women who get it, who are doing this, and who have had results. And having someone like myself who has got the experience and knowledge and gotten through to the other side, I've resolved it, and I can show you and guide you to help you do the same. So in the program, we also have a Facebook support group that will guide you, and I can, I'm in there as well, so I can guide you and support you with any questions. Plus, of course, we have now added a monthly Q&A with me as well. So every month I will answer questions and be there for you, just to make sure that you get the results as well. Okay, so I hope this all makes sense, and I hope you guys have gotten a lot out of this. I know there's a lot of information that I've shared, so feel free to ask me any questions. I'm just going to go move back onto my chair because my knees are sore now. Okay, cool. Thanks, Beck. So soy. Okay, so we don't recommend soy in the program. It is a phytoestrogen, and it's a very powerful phytoestrogen. So it basically mimics our estrogens. And the idea, and they even still teach this in college, is to replace the receptor sites. So you have receptor sites on a cell, and that's where the estrogen is supposed to go. Now, if you've been exposed to toxins, or you've had plastic in your life, or you've had synthetic hormones or anything like that, you've generally got a xenoestrogen, which is a more powerful estrogen sitting in that spot. And the idea with a phytoestrogen, or a plant-based estrogen, is to kick that xenoestrogen out and replace it with a plant-based one, which is supposed to have lower levels of estrogens. I have tested this extensively. I've done a lot of research on it because I was really confused about it as well. And what I found was it's not as simple as that. And I think that can work short term. So you could have benefits, like I've seen women take evening primrose oil and they had some benefits in the beginning, but then if they take it too long, then it actually makes it worse. And my theory is that actually the body creates more receptor sites. And the other problem is that if you don't flush out the excess estrogens, so those xenoestrogens that have now popped out of that receptor site are still circulating in the body. And if you don't have a proper cleanse mechanism in your body, so if your cleanse aspect of your body is not working properly, you're not able to get rid of those excess estrogens. And so they stay in the body. And so you're just compounding everything. So I'm not a fan of them. You can get fermented soy. So if you have fermented soy and it's done properly, that won't actually have that phytoestrogen content, that high level of phytoestrogen. So that one should be okay. So I do still have miso soup on occasion, and natto kinase you can have. I mean, it's not hugely popular here, so I generally just have miso just because it feels really nice and warm on the tummy, but I don't have a lot of it. I definitely don't recommend soy, any like milk, any soy cheeses, any of those mass-produced soy products, because they don't go through the same processes. So they will be very high in phytoestrogens, and there's not a lot of nutritional benefit to those. So, okay, let me see what else we got. Cool, Rebecca. So program something you follow for the rest of your life, or is there ever a pre? Okay, so Rebecca, I need to switch your mindset a little bit on this because I get this question quite a lot. So the way I look at my health is like an investment. So everything that I do for my body is an investment so that I feel well, I have, healthy skin, healthy hair, I have longevity, energy, and I will live longer. Healthy longer, not, feeling like crap when I'm 60 that I'm struggling. So it's an investment in your health. In saying that, I am certainly not as, shall I say, diligent as I was when I first discovered a lot of this information. So I have a lot more flexibility in terms of my diet. And, when I go out or whatever, I don't have to massively worry that I'm going to have a reaction because my body has adapted. but I've also supported it in that. So if I go out and, people offer me, some wine or whatever, I'm not massively worried about that anymore. Whereas in the past, I wouldn't have had that. So cool. Thank you, Beck. Yes, there is hope. And that's really so wonderful that you said that, because that is my key message. So yeah. Thanks, Cheryl. Flax seeds, same thing. Don't recommend them. And I know this is contra to what you might have heard by other people and other naturopaths, because this is even taught in college, and I've even disputed it in college. So I've tested this on myself, and I've tested it on women with endo, and it's just not something I feel is right. And it's a little bit of gut feel as well. The thing is, like, you can replace those benefits that you may get from flax seeds from other foods. So it's not like a necessity that you have flax seeds in your diet as well. Okay, so how is everybody feeling? How are you guys? Are you ready to show? I'm ready to show you my program, and I'm so excited about it, because this is ultimately what I recommend you join if you really want to get all the insights, all the information, and we guarantee results. So I can give you all bits of pieces of information, but until you get the big picture and see exactly, well, okay, what foods can I eat that support hormone balance, and which foods should I avoid? Because, phytoestrogens are just one of them. I really want you to shift your reality with endo. I want you to stop suffering and stop, struggling so much with endo. And the women who've gone through the program have had amazing results, because I've put everything into it. I've took my 7 years of research plus my naturopath degree that I've studied, and I put it all in there so that you get all the information. You will get to know the why as to why you should do something. And that is something very rare that you don't get in most programs. They will tell you what to do, but they don't give you the why. And I think that's the key thing, is like, when we understand why we should do something, we're more inclined to want to do it. And that was my experience. Like, somebody said to me, oh, you should cut out gluten. I was like, cool, I can cut out gluten, but like, why? Why should I? And where's the motivation for me to actually stick with it? Because it's not the easiest thing. Okay, so I want to share a video, and hopefully this works, because yesterday we had some issues. So hopefully this works, and I'll share this video with you of Christine, who is a member, and she shares her experience in how she found the program. So I'm just going to load that one for you.
I think the program is phenomenal. The information provided is really good. She provides research backing everything up, and it's not just a list of do's and don'ts, but what I really like is that she tells you why, and she gives you research to back it up and her own experience to back it up. And so to me, that makes me a lot more motivated and encouraged to try some of these things, because I know that there's reasons behind it. Another thing I really liked about the program is that it really eases you into the different aspects of healing your endometriosis. So it's not something that's all at once and overwhelming. It's very step by step. She starts you off with the basics. She gives you time to kind of learn these things and to adapt them into your lifestyle. And she has, her support there if you need it. She's always there to answer your questions. And it's really a very guided program. It wasn't just throwing me a book and telling me, good luck. It was very helpful. And I found the support of her and other people in the program really encouraging, just to know that there are other people there going through the same thing. And also,
cool. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Christine has been with us for over a year now, so she has been with us for a while. And that's the key thing I do want to stress is I'm not going to promise you results in a month or 4 months even. this is something that takes time and commitment, and something that, you know, you've got to feel ready for. Depending on how your struggle has been so far, you may be at a point where you're just like, I give up, I'm ready to do anything, or you may still be kind of debating whether this is something that you want to pursue, and that's totally cool. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. What I'd like to do now is actually share a little bit more about my program with you. So if it's of interest, stick around. If you need to head off, or if you just wanted to get some info, that's cool too. We will be sending out a copy of this replay for you, so you can always watch it again if you need to. But yeah, so I'm going to jump back onto the presentation now. Okay, so I really want something special for you. I want your life to be filled with excitement, opportunity, and no more restriction because of silly endo. So here's some little snapshots of my life. This is me in Paris, traveling with my husband. This is me in Germany. This is me doing a cycling tour in the South Island of New Zealand, which I never thought I'd be able to do because cycling was always one of those activities that really hurt for me. This is my beautiful husband, and we have a wonderful relationship. No more limitations in terms of what we can do in the bedroom, which always helps. And this is my aunt, and she came to visit me from Germany, and we traveled around the South Island for an entire month, and I didn't have to worry about my period coming. And this is really what I want for you. I really want you to have a life that you're no longer restricted by endo. So what is the most precious resource you have that money can't buy? Well, it's time. And as many years as you've spent suffering, I've spent suffering, if I could limit that in any way, if I can reduce the number of times and number of years that you've spent suffering, then that I feel like I've accomplished something amazing. You don't want to spend the next few years researching like I did, all the various supplements, doing all the trial and error with hormone treatments and all the side effects, and adding more toxins to your body, which you inevitably have to get rid of later. You don't want to keep going from surgery to surgery or painkillers to painkillers and with no end in sight, or forking out lots of money for doctors, specialists, surgeons, naturopaths, with no definite resolve at the end of it all. So I created my Endo Wellness technique for you, and these values that I've allocated for every single module, I've based on my years of study, plus all the years that I went to see naturopaths and my personal research hours. So there's 5 modules in total, and in the first week you start straight away. So if you wanted to start right now, you can do. So you could literally start with your very first lesson on the foundations to wellness. This will give you the basis, the groundwork that you need to really be well. You'll also get a lesson on understanding endo, which we've covered quite a lot today, and the reach technique. So that's valued at $540. You then get the replenish module. So as you can see, that is 15 lessons that you get, and it goes through exactly how to use food to address every symptom of endo. So we went through inflammation, hormone imbalance, and the immune response. And I show you exactly the foods that you need to eat to support yourself. So exactly picking out what you need to eat to support yourself. And that's valued at $2,250. So to recap, your foundations to wellness, and then your replenish module. We then move on to exercise. So this is where I show you exactly the forms of movements you need to do to address those adhesions, so loosening up those adhesions, enhancing your hormone balance, reducing stress in the body, cleansing out your toxins. I also give you a cyclical exercise plan, my morning routine that I personally do, plus it incorporates a yoga program where I paid someone to come and do a yoga program for us specifically designed to support endometriosis and loosening up all of those adhesions. So that is valued at $1,800. So just a quick recap. You've got Foundations to Wellness at 540, then Replenish module at 2250, your exercise module valued at 1,800, and then we add in the Affirm module. So this is where we look at the deeper stuff, looking at those stress triggers, the underlying emotions, your past pains, traumas, things that you've been through in your life. And I've invited 4 experts to share their insights and to guide you through this. So there's no confrontation with this. This is using techniques that releases emotional pain from the body really, really easily and effectively. So you don't have that emotional stress trigger anymore. Now, of course, I had to pay these in some of these experts. So that's valued at $1,650. And then, so if we summarize this, Foundations to Wellness, we've got the Replenish module, the Exercise module, and the Affirm module. And finally, we look at the Cleanse module. So this is an effective way to cleanse out all of those toxins. Now, as you can see, that is a big, big module, massive module, lots of awesome content. I've stuck everything from my degree into this because I really want you to understand the importance of cleansing out those toxins. So I show you the specifics on how to get rid of that mercury, the lead, the parasites, the candida, anything that's causing a toxin load on your body. We're going to get rid of it so you can get back that normal balance between, your toxin load and the nutrients that you have in your body. And that is valued at $3,400. So, full recap now: Foundations to Wellness at $540, Replenish module at $2,250, Exercise module at $1,800, the Affirm module at $1,650, and your Cleanse module at $3,400. Now, your total value for all of this is the entire program for 12 months, is $9,640. Don't worry, you're not going to pay that. I have to ask you one thing though. There's one more thing that I wanted to make sure of. And I asked myself, what else do you need from me? Because there's always something extra that I can add to make this a little bit easier. And one of the things that came up for some members is they didn't understand how this all works for specific symptoms. So I created Insider Secrets. So these are amazing things that show you how you actually use the REACH technique to address common concerns with endo. The first one is all about cysts and endometriomas and how to shrink them faster. I show you how to use the REACH technique, plus give you extra tips and tricks that we've used over the years. I then give you secret number 2, which is all about addressing pain and how to reduce that faster, with some bonus tips on that one as well. So herbal remedies and tips that you can use to reduce pain. Plus, I give you specifics on how to get pregnant. So looking at infertility and how the REACH technique addresses this specifically. Plus, of course, some bonus tips on that one as well. So if that's a goal of yours, that might be the one for you. Okay. Now, if you only got access to this, just the Insider Secrets, just that is valued at $1,800. If you just got that, I'm sure it would be of value to you because those are commonly the symptoms that we want to address. The benefit is that by getting the whole program, you address everything all at once. So let's be honest, information isn't enough. I can give you all the information in the world, but we need support and guidance. And this is why bonus number 2 is all about connection. So as I mentioned, I'm now going to be offering monthly Q&A sessions with me every single month. And this is where you can ask me questions. You can tune in with me, see where you're at, and I can guide and support you. So this is valued at $540. So I have some questions. If all I did was reduce your pain by 20%, would this be worth it to you? Yeah? What if I could avoid surgery, or we could avoid painkillers and, you could actually live a normal life? Would that be worth it? Totally, right? I mean, wouldn't it be worth it if you could finally know that you're on the right track? So To give you a comparison, if you were to avoid surgery, that's potentially a cost of $10,000. Or if you went to go and see a naturopath every week for a full year, that's $5,200. Or if you had to go for IVF. Obviously, it just depends on the country that you live in and what's covered and what isn't. But for most of us, there's either an out-of-pocket expense with these or it's time lost. So what is it worth it to you? $5,000? 10? Maybe 20. Don't worry, it's not that much for you. So this is what I spent, $16,000 over 4 years for my naturopath degree. Plus I spent $2,400 on various, experts in the field. Plus I did lots of research of my own hours. So I added all of those up over the 7 years as well. So that's a lot of money that I've spent and a lot of time that I've spent in creating this for you. So let me ask you, would you invest $20,000 to stop a life of endo pain and suffering? As you know, I've changed the lives of many women around the world, and including myself. I'm a prime example that this is possible, and I want this so much for you. So we've had amazing results within the program. So just to give you some examples, we've had a 92% success rate with women wanting to get pregnant. And, it could happen any moment for the other lady that hasn't managed to get pregnant yet. We've also had 100% improvement on symptoms. So this basically means every single person that has implemented what's in the program has had a reduction in pain and symptoms, which is phenomenal. And this is why you can see why this would be a good deal at $5,000. If this could get rid of that endo pain for you, it would be worth it, wouldn't it? Well, there's some good news. The program actually sells for $1,997 normally outside of this. So normally you would be paying that. But because you've attended this with me, you've been here with me, and you've taken the time with me, we are going to do a special deal for you today. The program is available to you for the next couple of weeks at $997. So you can start right now, you can join today, and you can get that very first lesson on the foundations to wellness instantly. So you'll have access to that, and you can begin your new journey, your new life, begin shifting that nasty reality of endometriosis right now. So the way you need to join is you just go to endowellnesstechnique.com/go, and you'll be able to join instantly and get that journey going. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me as well. You can reach me at support@endoempowered.com. I'll be happy to guide you. We have also created a payment plan on that. So if you need a payment plan, we've split it up into 3. So there is that option for you as well. So you have a choice right now. You can decide to do nothing and just keep going the way you are, experiencing pain and suffering and confusion and not really sure what you're doing. Or you can take action with me with a small investment. Compared to everything that you get in return, a whole new life, a normal life, not being restricted by endo anymore, it's seriously worth it. So there is a guarantee that comes with this program. It's called the improvement guarantee. So basically, if you don't get improvement by implementing everything in the program, after 1 year of implementing it, I will give you a full refund, complete refund. I will give you your entire investment back because I believe in it so strongly, and I really want you to dive in with me. I don't want that to be a hesitation or a worry. I want you to be secure that this decision is going to be the best decision you ever make in managing your endometriosis and finally overcoming this and living a normal life. So there's nothing to lose. I also have a very cool bonus for you, and it's available for the first 5 women who join today. You get 1 hour of private consultation with me. So this is worth $120 an hour, and I will give you this because I want to help you and support you personally Obviously, I can't offer this to everybody anymore, but if you're one of the first 5 women to sign up, then I can offer it to you. And you can use that hour whenever you like. You don't have to use it straight away. In fact, I recommend using it later on in the game, because by then you can build up a whole lot of questions and ask me a whole lot all at once. Okay, so are you ready? Are you ready to sign up? Are you ready to join? Here's what's going to happen. You just go to Endo Empowered /go, and you click on the join button. You'll enter in your details, and you can enter in and you'll get all the details, and you can sign up straight away. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to get an email from me giving you instant access to the program. You'll get your membership username and password. If you're already a member and you've already purchased things from me, it'll be the very same username and password, and you'll be able to access your program from within there. So everything's in the same place. And you'll be sent your very first lesson, Foundations to Wellness, instantly, so you can get started right away. So just so you know, I sucked at being healthy. Alcohol used to be my painkillers, and painkillers, I used to just do that all the time, just alcohol and painkillers whenever I had a flare up. My body went through 7 operations, countless hormone treatments, and I still came out the other side healthy and well. And I used to hate exercise. But I did it, and you can do it too. I got Endo Empowered, and you can too. So just to recap, here's all the modules again, their value, and of course, how to sign up. So sign up at endowellnesstechnique.com /go, and you can start straight away. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them by email or in the chat box, and I look forward to guiding you and supporting you on if this is the right thing for you right now.